I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Josh, is the market gonna go up or down? Josh! Okay, I'm kind of over that. I'm trying to be entertaining and dramatic. I'm not really good at that. Let's get straight to the point. The market's really confusing. Well, before I get straight to the point, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We were just streaming. We should be on Monday, depending on where I'm at, but most likely we will be, so be there. We have 500 people today. I think it was a glitch, but still a few hundred people every day. It's pretty fun, cool chat room to get involved with, but this came up a lot. I felt it today somewhat, but not so much. You know, why is the market so confusing right now? I want to talk about some things. Let's talk about what is really important. I'm going to recap some of the main stuff. Go watch my videos I posted yesterday if you're really curious as to my bearish thoughts on that, even some of the bullish stuff going on with it. But essentially, I want to cover all of this stuff that's happening and just some of the intricacies. You know, I think we should talk about pension buyers. We've heard that a lot. I don't think you guys are familiar with that. And this whole concept of just how to play the market. You know, if you want to go, again, like I'm saying, understanding the thoughts, I'm going to quickly go over why the market's been how it is. But the main thing now is setting up. How do we account for this? How do we play this type of move? And, you know, coming into the new year, and that's what I have to tell you guys, is that a lot of what we're setting up here and doing, this is setting up coming into the new year, and that's what I'd be preparing. Man, I can't even hit my jewel while I'm doing a video. I thought I could. But, you know, we have one more trading day left on Monday, and that's it. So, you know, there's the tax sell-offs where a lot of people are just taking those losses, be able to report the 2018 loss, and you might see an influx of buyers back in. I posted in the video, the next main thing I'm looking for is oil. That had a rip up and came down. We saw the markets. Look at the Japan currency. I also talked about it today on stream. Another big thing that's coming up is, you know, in January, new Japan trade reforms they were doing. So it's going to affect automakers and some other stuff with US and China and some of those deals. But somebody brought that up in a Chinese auto stock in the chat. We talked about that, but another thing really with the markets here, and this is what's leading some confusion, and even right now with how you know, people are like, I don't know what to play. I bought puts, I averaged down, then I sold out, then they're back up. You know, a lot of people were saying in the chat they got screwed. You know, you only get confused if you expect something, you know, and I talked about this in that last video. I talked about this on the stream. So the whole point is, don't expect something on too much of a short-term scale. That's why I said, to see my thoughts on this, I'm expecting this to extend out over the next few days and the few weeks, you know, and then coming into January, you know, oil, but I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Okay, blanked, I remember. I had time to hit my jewel. And, but something adding to, you know, again, you only get confused if you expect something. But another thing adding confusion to the scale for me is the government shutdown. That is still ongoing. I think I explained again, we had a pretty good stream today despite the lack of news. It gave us a lot of time to explain the thoughts of where we're at. So I've talked about a lot of these in the videos. I know it's a lot, so I'm trying to keep it short, but I encourage you to go look into it because there's a lot of moving factors, especially as it relates to the government shutdown, how it's connected to the Fed, you know, stuff like bonds and all that. And we saw some movements in bonds, and, you know, that even led today. You know, we saw the second biggest uptick in order history. I said that, and people are like, wait, where's the second biggest buy order? It means pretty much in like a 1 minute window, you saw the biggest volume come in and on an index or on the New York Stock Exchange, or the amount of volume come in through the indices combined. So you saw that the last 2 days in a row. We've been seeing the fourth largest and the second largest. It's kind of crazy. And the market's popped, and I talked about it even with the VWAP and where the market's trading at, and kind of it looks like people are buying, but I'm not trying to focus day to day too much. I'm just focusing on the macro stuff, and I'm going to talk about this where the stock market is going to be changing. I'm going to post a video on that this weekend. You guys, you know, things will change, and you'll see as time develops with the news, and that's a big thing to watch now and going about it. And that's where, for the confusion, this is what I was going to say. Some of you guys making plays, if you're getting confused on a play, if you're averaging down, buying in, whatever it may be, you have to think why. It's why you're playing it. That's usually, for me at least, you know, I get confused when I don't know what's going on. That's why I cut a lot of things. I have my Boeing. I'm in calls on that, but I'm going after Amazon a little bit, just because I like the risk reward. But full on info, what I'm looking at Facebook, and they came out with a report today too, about 10 minutes before close, 20 minutes, that Mark Zuckerberg made a post. But I even said, someone asked me, I said, just go play Facebook puts. Stop. Apple is one, you could relate it to the China hacking, the phone sales. Citi downgraded them yesterday. There's a lot of stuff, but they're linked to the SPY in a way. Does the chicken come before the egg? I don't know. But I like Facebook because I have other reasons why it could go down, and I'm thinking and looking at kind of how it's been trading. And it could even be, that wouldn't be good, where you could have a good short side bias and still get some calls, as it's been hovering around these points, and the premium gets cheaper on the call side, but the puts are still kind of up. But I like that. I like playing it. So it's knowing the reason why. So oil, I got more oil puts. I've been scaling into drip and building a position against oil. I'm going after it again with drip instead of USO. Just because, again, I see something brewing with oil. That's where I'm looking at it. So it's when you know the reasoning, and when you have solid reasoning, when you have information, it makes it a lot easier for you to go about a play. So that's to address some of the confusion, but this market is confusion, and because there's a lot of stuff going on. And quite frankly, I was like, man, what am I going to make a video on? What's there to talk about? I'm somewhat confused, but again, I was like, well, wait, I'm only confused if I'm expecting something. And I know I'm expecting a bounce, but I'm like, oh, is it big enough? You guys, I'm on the stream, I'm the guy saying I hate when people talk with certainty, but I'm like, oh, okay, if it doesn't go up to here or here, I don't like it. Well, that's my preference of what I don't like. But even then, I'm like, well, I need to eliminate those expectations. I'm kind of got to view it on a broader scale, but with that, you got to adjust your options position. So it's interesting, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But what I'm saying on the reverse side is that a lot's going on. There's a lot of stuff macro, but there's not a lot of news. You're not seeing too much talking. Really, it's the government. The government shut down, and I think that's, like I said, that's going to have the effect. It's going to lead into the debt ceiling, but there's just not a lot of stuff we're hearing, internationally. Maybe it's because of the holidays, New Year's, whatever, but it's kind of quiet. And then that's another thing I discussed on stream, is that, and even I said earlier, this is the last 2 trading sessions of the year. 2019, the minute 2019 comes into play, a lot of political changes that were enacted prior, they start to happen. A lot of stuff that was voted on in 16, 17, 18 in the beginning of this year, they start to roll in. Other countries, when they're adopting new measures, this is where they start to roll stuff out. So things in 2019 change, and again, that's the future pricing that we're seeing. But last thing I think I want to talk about is the pension buyers. And now some people are confused on that, and people are kind of, you see the markets at time, and this is another thing I discussed with sentiment, is that I was expecting, the bounce, Newton's law, equal opposite reactions, but on the same sense, it's gotten really bad, and that's why a tip, good thing if you've watched this far in the video, watch for earnings. Think about how many times I'm saying this. Watch for earnings, both long and short side. But that, I think investors are going to start eyeing that soon. It's just around the corner. And I think the markets are going to get ready for that before you know it. And it leads in. Markets like to cling to positive news or random positive news. They're like, oh, this pension. And there is fundamentally money coming in from that. And that's where pensions, year ends, they have to do allocations and balances. And they make those orders. And that's a large source of liquidity. Pensions, even, you'd be surprised. That's where a lot of pensions, 401ks, hedge funds, all that, that's where the real money in the markets come from. And 64 billion, that's no joke. That's like Netflix almost. I think half of Netflix, or it might be Netflix. But what was I saying? Okay, brief Juul refresher. But I was going back to the sentiment. So, that's like the positive news, but it's been so negative that any slight remotely piece of positive news could bring it up, and that's why I'm talking about earnings, because with it's been so beaten down, we're going to see earnings could surprise, and that could bring it. That could be my bounce I'm looking for. So I'm expecting it if oil. So remember, I've said I have contingency plans, and I'm thinking of possible scenarios. So hopefully you guys see. This is why I say don't be definite, because it's scenarios, and I'm thinking of what could go wrong, and I'm thinking of possible plays. So whenever the situation develops, it's never going to develop how I exactly expect, but you'll be able to spot certain factors and go from there. So, you know, this earnings, it could be good. Or, you know, that could be the bounce that I'm expecting, and maybe oil ends up going up throughout January and December and February, and we don't see that, and then come February, March is when we get that big bounce, and then, or February, or after earnings, and then March you see it die. Who knows, you know, but that's kind of the stuff that I'm keeping my eye out for. So that pension news, though, hopefully you guys got the explanation and understand kind of what it is. You don't need to look in too much into it. You can, but that is a major source of liquidity. That we can make a video talking about that and understanding the role of bigger funds and the real big money in markets and how that operates. But for the most part, you know, look for any piece of any news to cling to over the weekend, any good news even on Monday. And that's what I'm interested in too. I'm more interested in Monday, how we're going to set up for that and how we're going to go about playing that, because I think it's just going to lead into this volatility, you know, gap and rip type stuff. So if that does occur, I think it's going to be good. And you saw the opportunities. I think with more time on the contracts, it'll be good. But what I'm going to be looking for with this whole weekend, just look for news. Wait, see if anything pops off. I'm going to look. You guys see oil. Excuse me. Those countries I listed: Trump government shutdown and Brexit and stuff in the euro. That's pretty much it, but we're going to see. There is some real estate data that came out. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, I'll make that other video for you guys, but that's pretty much it. Nothing really to show on the charts. I could show the market, but that was already confusing you right now. So don't be confused. Hopefully this explains some. If not, you know, go ahead, leave me a hate comment, but I still love you. I love you all. Subscribe. Be on the stream. Maybe we stream on the weekend. Maybe I stream from Vegas. You guys asked for a Vegas vlog. I don't know. What do you guys really want vlogs? I feel like vlogs are kind of corny, but I mean, I could give you something like, I'll do my version of a vlog. And I was gonna make a separate video. Maybe I'll just say it now for the people listening. No, I'll talk about it later. I love you guys. I won't waste your time. Stay in school. Stay wherever you want. Stay out of trouble. Peace out.